side of this recruitment fiasco. We covered a lot of this. In fact, the ins and outs of this was covered on episode 92. The NCAA soccer is undergoing a seismic shift. So you get, again, you can get the ins and outs on that. We're not going to dive into the ins and outs of all the lawsuits, but um, uh, you know, it is a crazy time of kind of dealing with all the recruitment issues, especially for the class of 25 and 26. So Steve Axtell as everyone knows, is a co-author of the college soccer recruitment map, a roadmap. So, and then he's the head men's soccer coach at SUNY Cortland University up in the great state of New York, and also the East Region Cap Director. So Steve wears many hats, but today we're talking specifically about the men's recruiting class for the class of 25 and 26 and what this lawsuit is doing, and then what you can do to stand out. So, Steve, welcome, and let's kind of talk about the lawsuit and how this is affecting changes for 25, 26. So let's go ahead and I'll let you ramble for a second, then we'll obviously start kind of asking questions and see what we got.
Thanks. Yeah, sounds good. I think just for families to note, the first thing is that there's going to be far less kids playing Division One men's soccer than ever before. So the roster cap set at 28, um, and that's across the board. You're going to have far fewer kids playing at that level. Um, I think the transfer portal, right, is going to go through the roof
Yeah.
because all of those kids that are at that level right now that are having those conversations with their coaches, I mean, probably as we speak about what their future holds, if they're above that player 28 threshold. And even a lot of teams right now, it's like above the player 20 threshold, right? Because they have to bring in better players also. So a lot of those kids are having tough conversations about what their future holds at their current school. They're obviously going to enter the transfer portal, or an overwhelming majority of them are going to enter the transfer portal because they want to keep playing. And so I think, there's going to be far fewer kids playing at that level, and there's going to be far fewer opportunities for new, true freshman recruits into that level over the next year, definitely year, probably two.
And so and I don't want to mention names because I know we have talked to coaches offline and kind of confidentially. So what are you hearing though of this? Let's start with the Division One, and with the 28 person roster limitation now, it is are how hard is it for them to start dropping players? Has that process already started? That now they're dropping players and giving class of 25 and probably 26 commits like, hey, I know you verbally committed, but you're no longer a part of this team. Are you hearing that is happening already?
Yeah, I'm seeing it on Twitter quite a bit. I'm
Yeah.
seeing, kids reaching out and say, "Hey, I'm back in the mix. I was committed and now I'm not." So that's definitely happening. And I think kids at their current schools, I mean, those conversations, if they haven't already, are happening, I would guess, as we speak. But you got to assume a kid that's in that boat at a certain school right now, they're worried about it. So they're probably even prompting those discussions on
Oh
their
yeah.
level. So, like, I think everybody at that level is talking about it, how they best want to go about it. And I do know that at the top of the game, they are, and this is from, directly from coaches, they are assuming that they are going to get transfers moving upward from mid-range to low-range Division One schools that maybe are the best player or the best couple of players at those schools that want to now get more scholarship money, fully funded, et cetera, at a much higher academic institution or a much better soccer program, et cetera. So I think, not only are they worried about what's going to be dropped off the bottom of the roster, but I also think a lot of mid-range and low-range schools are worried about what's going to come off the top of their roster too.
Interesting. And so that makes it incredibly difficult for the class of 25 and 26 because now, so I will brag on SUNY Cortland because there's always this misconception. It's like, oh, it's just a D3, but SUNY Cortland is a high level Division 3, top 10, perennial ranked I don't think you've been out of the top 25 in this for the past 15 years. I could be lying. That could be a made up stat, but I feel that that's somewhat true.
6 or 7, maybe.
Okay, well, 6 or 7 years consecutively in the top 20. It is a high level program, and recruitment wise, are you kind of on a recruitment somewhat pause right now to kind of see the what spills down from Division 1 mid majors to Division 2?
Yeah, yeah, certainly. We're going slower than we ever have. We've only got one commitment in that class right now. We've only offered out another 2 or 3 spots, and that's it, which is really slow for this time of year.
Wow.
Um,
In
and on top,
comparison, where were you last year at this time? How were
um,
I
I
know
would
that's
say close to being done. I mean, probably most
wow.
of the offers were out at this point, anyways. And I would
Okay,
say now I would call it we are 1/5 of the way done. Um, we're going after
interesting.
a higher level kid for sure. We know that the kids that are kind of teeter tottering between that high level Division 3, maybe try their hand at Division 1, kind of mid major type of school. We think we've got more of a fighting chance with those kids this year than ever. So we're going after probably a little bit higher product than we ever have. But yeah, I mean, we're going to need a little bit of time to see how it shakes out at the top.
And
Because
that's and
one thing that I think most colleges don't want to do is commit to a kid and then have to decommit. I mean,
yeah,
most coaches are trying to go about it the most ethical and moral way that they can. I think some of them are stuck because they were taking a lot of commitments at that level, at the Division 1 level. I mean, well prior to any of this coming out, and
yeah.
then they felt, okay, that's not the right move for our school. But I think now everybody's in this kind of holding pattern because the last thing you want to do is give a family, bad information, let them commit, and then have to decommit real late in the process. So I think everybody's, on a bit of a pause and going really slow.
Do you think that's especially true for the power forwards? Because the power four, I know there's one in the power five, but because those are the ones that are affected the most by this roster limitation of 28. Now that just became official, we knew it was going to be. Now it's official. Those guys probably aren't on those power four schools, and even the big time mid majors. That um, they may not bring in any players this year because they're going from a roster of 40 down to 28. They're already cutting the excess players. I mean, so there's a chance there's some schools that may not bring a single player in this year. I mean, do you think that's fair to say?
Well, I think at that level, um, you're taking player 21, let's say, right through 28 is also not on money, and you could probably go get a much better player that's fully funded now.
Oh.
So I think the math, yes, I think you're right. Um, in terms of they don't need to bring in a true freshman, but God, I mean, I think after having some conversations with some of them, I think they are all expecting, if you're the top couple kids at XYZ school that's a mid major or a lower level, why would you not go to, and I'll just hypothetical, go to Stanford, for free and be player 24 now, right?
And then
Like,
you get some revenue share
yeah, why would you not?
because now
Uh,
I didn't even think of that. So
so I think there's
really,
going to be a lot of movement from the top of lower teams rosters too that are just want to go and take that
wow.
chance.
So you could be number 18 on you could make the travel roster because Division 1 had 14 men's had 14 scholarships.
9.9 with men.
9.9, excuse me. And
Yeah,
um so interesting. So if you're number 18 on a travel roster, so you can maybe only travel with 22. So you're number 18. You're probably not getting much playing time anyways. And now the substitution rules come out that once you come out, you can no longer come back in. So that's hurting playing time. And that number 18 is not getting much money. And so if any, and now you have an opportunity to go after a big time player, give him a full ride, and man. So you're right. If you had a roster of 40, the bottom 20 are at a lot of risk here.
for sure. Yeah, at
Interesting.
least, at least.
Hmm.
So yeah, I mean, I think, and that's going to create movement. at the bottom end, right? Like those rosters are going to shift upward, and they're going to have scholarship dollars that open up more at the lower ends. So, I mean, I think in general, you're just looking at there's going to be far more scholarships at the Division One men's level.
Yeah.
More kids are going to get full tuition paid for. Um, like I was crunching the numbers here earlier. So if you took, so there's 212 men's Division One teams.
Okay.
Okay. But let's say if you assume, and I don't know the exact number, but it's probably pretty close. So you've got about 60 that are in that. They're going to opt in or be forced in to the rev share 28 roster cap, right?
Right.
So let's call it 60 schools, just as a hypothetical. Um, and if all of those schools did have 9.9 and now they have 28, you're looking at another 1,086 scholarships that are available in the Division One men's game. So you've got over 1,000 more scholarships in that money being spent in the Division One men's game. So more kids are going to get paid, tuition and have a much easier time going to school at that level. It's just going to be much harder to do it at that level.
Yeah. So what's the suggestion? You got class of 25, class of 26. Are we at the point, and we never want to, the sky is falling type situation, but are we at a point that if you're 25 and your dream's always been this Power Four, I want to go play this Power Four or even big time Division One, are we at a point that say, okay, you got to move past that? Like the reality of that happening is slim to none because the transfer portal's happening. You got the JUCO, you got international. The chances of them coming as a true freshman are slim to none, unless you're top 1%. I don't know. I mean, is that a safe thing to say? Time to move on past Division One and start seriously looking at the other offers that are out there.
Yeah, I mean, in general, yes. I do think that if you make it to that level, it's going to be an amazing experience.
Yeah.
So I understand kids hanging on to that pipe dream. I think the right move right now, though, is to understand that maybe that's a pipe dream and to hold on to it, right? You can reach out to those schools, you can go through the process, but you have to fully go through the process with 40 other schools,
Yeah.
right, that aren't in that mix, just to be safe. And I think and I said 40, and maybe that's too low. I mean, I think right now, if I'm a men's soccer recruit, if I'm a male soccer player in 25 or 26, well, 25 if you're not started already. I mean, who knows, right? Like
Yeah.
that's going to be
Yeah.
tough.
Good. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
26, if you're not started and you're about to get started, full on into it, and you're not starting with like 75 schools,
Yeah.
I think you're kind of shooting yourself in the foot a little bit. I
Yeah.
just think you have to open up your net.
Because
And
the
you need to
unknown
market. And you
unknown
need
is
to
real,
market.
and it's like it's like Division Three is the new Division Two. I know that's kind of a funny thing to say, but it's like the level that you that you thought you could play out has changed from a year ago now. Like it has changed drastically because of everything that's happening in the Division One world. So yeah, maybe a year ago you're like, oh, I could play a Division One, maybe, and probably not anymore then. And so what it also I think is going to happen, and maybe I'm wrong, is the competition for all the other NCAAs and down to NAI and JUCO is going to increase. I think the level of collegiate soccer is going to increase across the board. So what was Division Two like? Oh, no, those are kids coming down from Division One now. And so I think everyone across the board is going to increase. So I think you really almost have to come in like, I think 75 is, people are like, oh, that's a lot of schools, but you're coming in with a blank slate. What we knew 6 months ago is now totally gone, and we're coming into this unknown world that we can sit here and kind of think we know what might come out of this, but we don't even know officially what's going to come out of this. We don't know what schools, what Power Five, what mid majors are opted into this, what aren't opted into it. Like there's some in conferences that are, a school that I talked to, they're huge in ice hockey, and so they're going to opt into it as a mid major, but other people in that conference may not opt into it. So
Yeah, and I think part of that, let's call it 75 schools you're going to reach out to. Part of that you have to hit all levels, and I'm talking all levels, like low Division 1, like you, or low Division 3, even. Like you
Yeah.
have to go to the very bottom of college soccer and just read the market as what it's given you. Like for instance, with us here at Cortland, I mean, even on our roster currently, right? Like you've got two transfers from St. John's University, from Syracuse, right? Like from all these Division 1 schools, and not just mid-major, low end, like top end Division 1 schools. And those kids went there even before this
Yeah.
and are now playing here, right? They transferred here. Now, if you look at that, like that same kid who 4 years ago, yep, you were probably recruited there and offered a spot at St. John's, let's just call it, right? But now you're not getting that offer. And so if you just think, oh, I'll just look at, yeah, I'll just look at low end Division 1, you're like, that might not even be your home anymore, right? Like you might just have to start looking. So, I mean, I hope kids will understand this, that kids 4 years ago that had the opportunity to go to St. John's are already transferring to Division 3 schools. They're already doing it in mass, right? Like lots of them because they want to play and they want to get on the field. Now you're just not even going to have the option to go firsthand. And
Mm.
so, you got to adjust your scale accordingly. And I think kids, I mean, the ego of boys certainly is, anti Division 3. That's for sure. They just think that the whole level sucks. And that's every 15-year-old boy you talk to, right?
Yeah.
Like they can grow up around it and they can see it, but like in their head, that's not them because it's
Right.
not the top. And that's just ego falling out of boys. And now is the wrong time. If there was ever a wrong time to have that, now is it.
Yeah.
The kids that I think are going to have the best opportunities are the ones that put that ego aside and really just look at what it is, what the market's telling them. And by the market, I just mean what coaches are emailing you back, what
Yeah.
coaches are coming to watch you play. Those are the ones that want you,
Yeah.
right? Like quit spending any more time on schools that are not emailing you back within 24 hours and definitely coming to watch you play.
That's good. That's good. And then do you? I think at this point too, if you're 25, especially 25 and into 26, if you get an email from a kid and they're just blunt, hey, coach, I'm. Are you still looking for a center back for 2025? And your answer may be no. We're maxed on the center backs. But as a coach, that it kind of cuts to the chase, and you now know because, like you said, 75 schools, you're not going to get 75 offers. But now we can start knocking people up. Okay, Cortland's not looking for a center back. Okay, now I move on. And it's going to naturally start whittling the stuff down. And yes, I'm looking for a center back. Okay. Oh, but you're probably not at my level. Okay, then you keep moving on. Like I think at this point for 25 is we just got to be blunt. Like we can't just email and hope that, oh, I hope someone responds to me. I almost think, right, you got to cut to the chase and say,
Yep.
just get the answer out, rip the bandit off, and just
25s for sure. I mean,
yeah,
I don't think there's anything wrong with sending an email that's only your video. Like, and like as long as you can get into the school, right? Like enough with telling a coach you scored 22 goals in high school, like
yeah,
all of your stats, none of it matters. Like send your video. Hey coach, I'm still open, right? Like I'm not committed anywhere. Am I at your level? What can I do to make this process easier for you? How can I give myself the best chance? If I'm not at your level, please let me know. I'm trying to move quick. No problem. Attach your video, see where it goes. But look, if they watch that video and you're at their level, you're going to help them win. They're emailing you back.
yeah,
Like, no, I think that's the biggest thing in recruiting is kids just keep, I'm going to keep my options open. I'm going to see what comes to me. Nothing's coming to you.
yeah.
Like nothing, no one's reaching out anymore for average players at that level.
Right.
You know,
I
you
think
have to
at any level with everything coming down, like it's just
yeah, you have
yeah,
to do the work. You have to, and like you said, just enough with the fluff, like enough thinking that, oh, if I email them 10 times, maybe now I'll have a chance. Like, no, you had your chance. They watched your video. And if
yeah.
they're not emailing you every 4 days, it ain't
I
you,
agree.
you know? And that's just the reality of it right now.
Hard hitting stuff from the boys, but it's honest. Like you guys, people have to be honest. We're at this point, and it's how I think how serious it is in the men's recruitment is like we are at this point that you can't sugarcoat this anymore because we try to sugarcoat things and like, oh yeah, this is your dream, like you said, hold on to it, but you better have 75 of it because it is a we're sitting here, and I'm not going to say, well, I'll just be honest. We're probably the experts in this recruitment. I mean, it's what we get to do full time. We understand recruitment probably better than anyone else. And we're going, I don't know what's going to happen in 6 months. And the best you can do, like you said, is just get as many schools as possible. Like it, that's the best advice we have. And we've been studying this. We've been studying this from day one, and we're going, I think this may happen, but who knows? Like it's scary. So, well,
Yeah,
that's
if you're not getting, let's say your goal is Division One, right? Which every kid, every boy is.
sure.
If you're not getting like concrete interest, right? And like I'm talking interest that like they want you, not
Yeah.
a hey maybe you'll fit, right? Like if you're getting the hey maybe we'll fit, hey give us a couple months, we got to see, we're not really sure. You're not working out there anymore.
Yep.
It's just not even close. Um, I think that level is probably going to like put some kids in a holding pattern for a while, or at least want to. But my tip to family would be, I mean, you got to read through that. I mean, you're going to be put into a holding pattern just for them to say no,
Yeah.
right? Like that's my assumption right now. And because before you were put in a holding pattern, and then when you were given roster spot 33, that's how it went. Um, they said, well, maybe, well, we kind of like some of the things that we see. Give us a couple months. We got to see how it shakes out. And then even if you do get the offer, right, like you're player 33.
Yeah.
That's where those conversations went. Now there's no player 33.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I just think adjusting your scale a little bit, and this is a universal truth. I think in recruiting in general is like you need to go where you're genuinely wanted, and we
Yeah.
all know how it feels when you're wanted.
Yeah.
We know how it feels when the school wants you as much as you would want them, right? Like you want a school that really wants you, maybe more than you want them.
Yeah.
Because you're going to go there and you're going to be really valued. If you want the school more than they want you, I think that's a tough time to do it. And it always has been, but even more so now.
Yeah, I agree. So that's the lowdown on the skinny for the men's class of 2025.